I do want to talk a little bit about logistics with regards to the syllabus. So some of you have turned in a paper copy but no picture. Some of you haven't turned in anything yet. Here's the thing about the syllabus, I don't care. It's fine if you just turn in a paper copy. Ultimately what I want is some indication that you know what I'm expecting of you. And if it turns out that down the road you have there's some confusion, my big concern is that it's not something that I caused. I don't want it to be me not being clear or me not giving you the information. So as long as you've looked at the information and we get something in the bin indicating that you saw it, great. If you turn something in on Canvas, if you turn in a picture on Canvas, that's great too, but you don't have to. And it doesn't have to come in on time because this has nothing to do with your learning. It's just a hoop we're all jumping through. So, which brings me to the next point, which is all the other stuff. So if you were turning stuff in, then that's great. But now I want you to close your Chromebooks and take out, if you've got earbuds in, I want you to take them out. I want you to listen because some of you are not quite getting this. And I don't know if it's because I'm not being clear or if it's because some of you are not here when I say it or if it's because you just aren't focused when I say it. But I want you to hear it. So Justin, and then listen really carefully. When you have work like this that is handwritten, I need you to turn it in on the due date in two ways. One, hold it up to your Chromebook camera and turn it in. I'll give you time in class to do that. If I say take a picture of your work and turn it in, it means take a picture right now with your Chromebook and turn it in. If you don't have a working Chromebook, I have loaners. You can sign in on those. Grab one, take a picture, turn it in. It has to come in on time on Canvas for me to know that you got it done on time. And then the next thing you do is you make sure your name is on it. Listen. And it goes right in the bin. That way I can actually see what you did, because on Canvas, what I'm likely to see is just a big blur. And I know that seems like, why am I making you turn things in twice? And the answer is complicated, and I'm super happy to explain it, but I'm not going to explain it to everybody, because most of you are just going to do that. If you would like me to justify that, I will. Super happy to, and I think you'll understand where I'm coming from with this, but it's not optional. Going forward, if you don't do those things, you might get penalized. If I don't have it on Canvas when I need it, then it might be marked late. And if I don't have it in the bin when I need it, then you might be marked late or you might not get any credit at all. Just know that those are the two things that you've got to do for handwritten work. Anything that's done completely on computer, you don't have to put anything in the bin, but it still has to go on Canvas. Everything goes on Canvas. Handwritten work also goes in the bin. And then there was just a question about well, what if we don't get something done? If you turn in what you've got and would like to keep working on it because you know that you're going to learn, I highly recommend it. You can always keep working on stuff. I'm not going to stop you. If it turns out that you used your class time, if I give you time to work on something in class and you don't get it done, and I mark you down, I take points off because you're not done, but you used your class time and you turned it in, then I will extend to you the offer to complete it outside of class for additional points. So you're not going to get penalized if you just work a little bit more slowly than some of the other people. You absolutely can do stuff outside of class and turn it in, but I need you to turn in what you've got on time. And my big concern there is sometimes people just sort of bank work in one class and use it for time in another class, and I don't want you to do that because it ends up not working out well for you. So if you come in here and you work on math all period long and I don't catch you, and then you say, oh, I didn't get the assignment done, can I turn it in tomorrow or Wednesday or whatever, I'm going to say yes, but you have to turn in what you got done. And that way, if what you turn in is nothing, then I know you didn't use your class time. And it's late. And that's for you. And it's partially for me because I need my life when it comes to dealing with the logistics of scoring work and marking things late and taking care of all that stuff, I need that to be as simple as possible because I have too much of it and it takes up more time than it's worth. But it's for you because the less time I spend trying to figure out which of these nameless, this isn't nameless, but if this were a nameless piece of paper, which of these matches up with which blur on canvas, or whether this assignment that I feel like just suddenly appeared in my inbox was late or not. The less time I have to spend doing that kind of stuff, the more time I can spend helping you learn biology, which is the actual important part of my job. So I'm gonna be pretty inflexible about this stuff. And if it's hard for you to remember, then you're gonna get penalized. And you just like, don't forget, turn it in on Canvas, always at the due date, and turn in the hard copy as well in the bin if you're writing anything done by paper and pencil. And then where I can be super flexible is what happens after that. Oh, I only got 2/3 of it done. I only gave you two-thirds of the points, but you were using your class time. You got what you got turned in looks really good. You want to finish it and turn it in for more points, fine. A lot of times I'm not even going to penalize you if you didn't get something done. If you use your class time and turn something in, most of you didn't get the polypeptides thing done. Most of you got part of the way and didn't finish it, but you all got credit. And that's because it doesn't matter to me if you finish something as long as you're working hard during class much of the time. Because by the time you get to the end of class, you should know whether you need to finish it or not. Like if you're understanding it and really feeling good about what's going on, don't finish it if you get full points, because you know it. But if you are working on it really hard and it's difficult, if you're like, I don't know this stuff, I can't remember these molecules, it's like every time I look at this, all the bonds blur and I can't remember the difference between a covalent and a van der Waals force, and then you work more on it. And don't do it for the points, do it because you want to understand it, right? So that's the big message, and shortly I'm going to have you working on some stuff, and when that happens, if you have questions, I'm going to hand stuff out. If you have questions about any of the work that we've done, you can ask me about it. I'd be happy to go over that with you, okay? And then going forward, we're gonna be kind of blending a couple of things. So we did some sort of experiment stuff. This mung bean, like what do mung beans have to do with anything that we're talking about now? The answer is nothing. Mung beans were just a way to collect data before we really talked about anything. But now we've talked about some stuff, and so what you're gonna see is that instead of doing an activity that just sort of seems random, the activities are going to line up with the concepts that we're studying. So on Wednesday, for example, we're going to start a new activity, and it's going to be based on an enzyme. But the activities are often going to be centered around this scientific process, which is so important on the AP exam. And the scientific process has to do with all these things: null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, the statistical significance, control treatments. That's stuff they want you to know. They want you to be able to design experiments. They want you to be able to identify, like they're going to ask you in a free response question, here's this thing that these scientists did. Which of these was a positive control? And then you have to say, this is the positive control in this experiment. And so we have to practice just the science part of it. So we're going to do that starting on Wednesday with using an enzyme called lactase. Most of you have worked with lactase before. If you had biology here at CV, it's almost certain that you've done something really similar to what we're going to do on Wednesday. But the goal on Wednesday is going to be to take what you know about enzymes and what we learn about lactase in particular on Wednesday and turn that into a sweet scientific experiment that's got a bunch of scientific vocabulary in it, which you'll then use to set up and actually do the experiment, and then collect data, and then analyze the data, and even determine the statistical significance of your data, because that's what the real science looks like. So that's what we're going to be doing, and today we're going to practice some of that with the mung bean data. So for the mung bean data, We don't, like, there was nothing about, we didn't learn anything about mung beans, we didn't learn about plant germination, we didn't learn about any of that stuff. So there's not, you don't really have a basis for making like a serious hypothesis because you don't know enough about how any of it works to have a real hypothesis. But you did get data. And if you didn't get data, somebody else did. So for today, what you're gonna do is make a new spreadsheet, so you just go to Sheets, and you'll just go to File, New Spreadsheet. And then in that spreadsheet, I want you to copy and paste some really good quality data. Good quality data is data where it looks like the measurements were right. Sorry, you can't see this at all. Where it looks like the measurements were right, and there was germination for all of the treatments. Ideally, what we'd have is differential germination, meaning some of the treatments had longer radicals than others. And so, for example, if you look at some people's data, there's just a bunch of no's. So like whoever KC and MK are in here, they didn't get any germination with their sugar water. So it's not bad, it's not a bad experiment, but this isn't great data for us to analyze. Or like SRAG on Wednesday, they didn't get any germination at all. So let's not analyze that. If your data, on the other hand, looks something like this, so here's, oh, somebody botched that. Here's somewhere they were looking at no salt, some salt, and lots of salt. And then here are the radical lengths. For no salt, all of them grew. For some salt, all of them grew. For lots of salt, all of them grew. That's good quality data. That's gonna allow you to do some real analysis to determine if there was actually a difference in the radical length, okay? So, so once you've made your new spreadsheet, find some data to copy into it. If your data looks really good, great. If your data, if you didn't get good data, or if you didn't have a bunch of your mung beans didn't germinate, just use somebody else's. It doesn't matter for what we're doing today. And then, by hand, you need to calculate the mean and the median radical length. And if you don't remember how to do that, I can show you. Most of you remember, but probably a few of you forgot, especially for median. And then, once you've done that, you can use the spreadsheet to do it. Google Sheets can find means and medians. And then once you've found the mean, make a labeled bar chart showing the mean for each treatment. And again, you do that by hand first, and then you check it with the spreadsheet. And here's the thing. If I were in charge of everything, I would not have you making graphs or doing any of these calculations by hand. You either know how to do it or you don't, but this is not something that I think you need to practice. Nobody does this by hand. Nobody on the planet does this by hand. Everybody does it with data analysis software, Google Sheets and more advanced packages. But you have to be able to do this on the AP exam. So we're going to practice it so that you can do it and do it well and do it really clearly. Yeah?
Median is the middle number?
Median is the middle number, yeah. So this is an example. Now, this is not for this study. This was for something different that I did last year with AP Biology, but this is my work. And I'll walk around and show it to you a little bit more closely, but your work should sort of look like this. Like, you don't have to have all this stuff written out because you don't need to for what I'm asking you, but it should be neat and clean. And then if you look at my bar graph, look at how neat and clean this is. You don't have to use color, it's fine. You can if you want, but you don't have to. But it should be properly labeled and really, really easy to read. And that's the key. That's what we're really working on practicing. So today, your goal is to find some good data, calculate by hand the mean and median for each treatment, double check with the spreadsheet, then make a bar chart by hand showing the mean for each treatment, check that on the spreadsheet. And we're gonna keep working on this on Wednesday, but with new stuff. So you need to get all of this done today. On Wednesday, I'm gonna show you how to do some statistical analysis. We're gonna be calculating the standard error of the mean, and I'm gonna show you how to add that information by hand to a bar chart and to a bar chart using Google Sheets, because that is a skill that all of you are gonna need to know. If we have time today, which I doubt we will, we can talk a little bit about the vocabulary that's listed here that you'll need to be using, but I don't think we'll have time, and so I'm planning on doing this on Wednesday during class. And while you're working, I'm gonna hand out everything that I have. If I give you something and say that I didn't, something went haywire, it means you probably didn't turn in a picture on Canvas, so that means I didn't score it. So if I give you something and say it's not quite ready yet, make sure that you take that picture and then put the work back in the bin so that I can give you a score. All right, anybody have any questions before we get started? All right, do some biology in a very mathy way.